Whether
Yeah,
we are live.
yeah, we are live now. So, hello everyone, to all the viewers. Today we have got a very special edition of our webinar, which is going to be on making space for everyone, through the space education. And we have got a very amazing panel today. Very amazing panel. Like these people, I have met few of them in person, and I've been connected to them since more than a couple of years now, and these people are striving hard and they are working day and night to change the whole perspective of Indian space ecosystem. Like a lot of people, they dream to become space pioneers, right? And they find out a way to become it, and these are the people who are guiding them and who are helping them to achieve their dream. So I would like them to introduce themselves because they know their initiative very well, right? So let's start from the Subhash. You can introduce yourself.
Okay, very good evening, everyone. Namaste to everyone, and vanakkam to everyone. I'm Subhash, aeronautical student from Chennai, and I have started Brahmastra Aerospace Systems in 2019, December 25th, where Christ is born. I just started the Brahmastra Aerospace Systems. The main motive of the Brahmastra Aerospace Systems. The meaning of the Brahmastra is the powerful weapon, and why I started Brahmastra is I consider my startup as the weapon against the ignorance against the space. Like I want to make my startup as a weapon against the ignorance in the space. So that's why I made it as Brahmastra, and I wanted to make it's my personally. I designed a missile before I started this startup. I named it as Brahmastra, and it was my personal touch. I just named it as Brahmastra as well, and I'm just doing more than 15. Was that I have doing more than 3 to 4 initiatives in the past 4 months during this lockdown, and hope it is helping more than 3 to 5,000 students for the past 120 days, and hoping to get much more initiatives. Like we are planning for the in space things,
Amazing. Cool.
and
So,
hope
yeah,
everything
yeah.
goes on in a great way. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
welcome Sunny Kaburwala, and he was my was that coincidental friend from 2017.
Yeah.
Rifat Shahrukh, uh, Vanakkam. He is my younger brother in terms of the physical appearance, and he is from my country, that is my area. From both of them, like I can see that Rifat Shahrukh and Nitish are from my state. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். Okay, thanks a lot,
Welcome
Sunny
to all.
Kaburwala,
Yeah.
for giving me the chance to introduce myself at least.
You deserve, man. You deserve. You have been doing
Thank
a
you.
great work in this domain, and I've been following Brahmastra Aerospace since now more than a couple of months, and the work you are doing, it's commendable. So now let's go to the another person, the person who have supported Star a lot. And I would say that even in the future, if we say that like wherever we reach, but I will always be thankful to that person. Nitish, your turn.
Oh, thank you, Sunny. That's really really kind. So I think I would take this opportunity and introduce myself real quick. So I am Nitish, and I am the chairman of SEDS India. So SEDS stands for the Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. So we are an international nonprofit per se, literally the largest student-run nonprofit in the world aimed at space. So really happy to be here representing the student space community, at least from India, and a bit of the international perspective as well. So I'm also the founder and host at Unbounded, which is also a space podcast that I've been doing for a while now. So that's that's about me, and I really really look forward to learn more from Rifat and Subhash. So thank you so much, Sunny, for this opportunity.
Anytime, man, anytime. Welcome to the panel. And now,
Sure.
last but not the least, but in most of the startup events, whenever I go and whenever I say that we are working into this space domain, space education, then they always take one name, and he is we can call the identity of Indian space ecosystem because they always ask me, "Do you know Rifat?" And I said, who doesn't know him, right? Everyone know about Rifat. I guess Rifat doesn't need any introduction, but still, Rifat, please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, hello everyone. Thank you, Sunny. That is really overwhelming, but I don't think we are not, we haven't reached the that much of level. But yeah, thank you for everyone for remembering us. So yeah, this is Rifat here. I'm the lead scientist and chief technology officer of Space Kids India. So we Space Kids India, we started back in 2010. Where mostly in India, CubeSats and all the nanosatellites, everything was pretty new. We started as conducting space camps for NASA, became the ambassador for NASA. But after 2015, we thought, why we need to always go to NASA or Europe to study about space. And we thought because we were frequently working with US and Russia, we got exposed to this nano spacecraft earlier in the India. So that is the moment we thought, we should start building satellites and spacecrafts. So we predominantly work in the satellite and spacecraft related industry. We have launched the Kalamsat back in 2017 and Kalamsat 2, which was launched on board PSLV C-44 last year, and a few more launches manifested for the upcoming year. So a lot of work going on, busy days. During the lockdown, I think lockdown has given a lot of opportunity to do a lot of research. So our future goals is mostly into the development of research platforms for the space exploration.
Amazing, amazing, and we wish you all the best for your new mission, which is VikramSat, which you have announced, and really excited for that.
Thank you, Sunny.
Yeah. So let's start with the first question. This question I asked to all the panels, and that is how we start our sessions. So Nitish, this is for you. When and how did you find your passion for space?
So yeah, that's definitely an interesting question, right? So I think, like most of the space enthusiasts out there, my interest and the passion towards space and all started off from a very young age. I think I could take this opportunity to say Abdul Kalam was one such inspiration for me. So when I mean, at least how I started off, right? So that is how I got interested into the space side and started learning a lot more and everything. But my association with space right now is pivoted towards entrepreneurship and startups as of now. So that is where my core interest lies, as opposed to nationalized space agencies and research and projects as such. So it was a really interesting journey. So I think until my 11th or 12th standard, I was really obsessed with national space agencies like ISRO. I did not really know about the ITAR regulations and stuff. I used to say very outgoingly that I'm going to work at SpaceX or NASA. And then I realized that is not possible unless you're a US cit, right? So then things started. I started exploring other options as well. And I think in my first year, it was Team Indus. I started working with them on a student experimental payload, and then I'm still working on that now with them, right? So it was a payload for the moon that has to be executed there, and that was work that's going on. But I really did not have this perspective about how startups work, and then how amazing or dynamic the ecosystem is, how vibrant the vibe is, and then the absence of hierarchy, of course, and the freedom to explore lots, right? So when I was first introduced to that, I think it was addictive in one way. So once you experience that, you cannot let go of it. So that, I think that's when the entrepreneurship bug bit me when I was in my first year, and from that point on, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to become a space entrepreneur. So that is how my journey has been carrying on until now. And one way or the other, space unites people. I think that is also something that I've realized over time, right? So be it in terms of the webinars that we host, from with different people joining in and all that. So I think in one aspect, since the unity front is there as well, it is also important for us in a country like India, where there are so many students out there who are aspiring to become space pioneers, or trying to make a living out of this industry. It is really important to also educate and then spread the awareness of the outer limits of our solar system as well. So I think that is something that I've picked up on the go, and I really focus on educating as many people as I can about the opportunities that exist in the Indian ecosystem. At least I think I really enjoy that process in one way. That is how Unbounded started off, and then that is also going on one side. And that is how my association with SEDS has also progressed for like almost 3.5 years now. So I think we've been able to reach significant amount of students and try to help them out. I mean, not as much as you guys do, but on a student level, on a very direct college level, I think we are really helping a lot of people know and learn about space, not just high-end colleges and all that, but also through our outreach programs to unprivileged children who cannot really afford space education and everything. We take real pride in sort of like exploring that front as well, and then giving back to the student community as much as we can. So I think the process of enjoying stuff and educating students and other my fellow peers as well on the opportunities that are available, and basically how exciting this ecosystem itself is, makes me happy personally. So I think that is how my association with space has been until now. So hopefully it will become a lot better in the future as well.
That's correct. That's correct. And even right now we are currently having the training and internship program with the students of the SETS community. And let me tell you, all students are super active, and they have a very strong passion towards space. So the community of SETS is really good in India as well. And the people here are constantly working hard to spread the space education among the students. You guys are really doing a very amazing work. Okay.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you.
So now, let's go to Rifat. Like, I heard about his story. It's very inspirational. But Rifat, I would like you to share your story with the audience. That how did you find your passion for space? I really want audience to listen this very carefully because this is very inspirational.
Thank you. Sorry, it's just throat thing. Don't doubt. I'm in home only. I'm not going out anywhere.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's very like afraid to cough outside, or it's becoming very dangerous. People have started judging me. But okay,
That's right.
Yeah, it's a cool story. I have shared it many times. My interest in space started when I was around 7 to 8 years old. I was watching this INSAT 4C, which was a communication satellite. They were planning to launch on board GSLV Mark II. We all know GSLV Mark II, how it was working in the initial days. It was a failure, launch failure. So that is the moment I thought, my dad actually told me that, I was asking him what went wrong, why the failure happened and everything. My dad himself was a scientist, and he was a electronics and communication professor. So from initial days itself, I have been exposed to a lot of technical stuff. So he explained me, this is how it works. The term cryogenic, I heard the term cryogenic when I was around 7 or 8 years old. At the time, I can't even pronounce the cryogenic properly, but he was telling that, it's super chilled and everything. But it was fascinating. I didn't I didn't determine that I should, get into the space industry, because, if I tell like that, that should be just, exaggerating stuff. But it was like, it was interesting. As an 8-year-old kid, whatever he was telling, it was interesting. And, I used to watch a lot of cartoons, and in those cartoons also, they always put 1 or 2 episodes about space and everything, which slowly motivated me into getting into space. But unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was in 5th standard. After that, it was me. I have to hunt what is the opportunity, because it is these things are happening back in 2008, where no proper internet, websites, or any organizations like this. But slowly, eventually, by God's blessing, I was able to figure out a way, and finally, I joined with Space Kids India. It was, one of the earliest organization in India. So after that, after joining with SKI, we came to know about CubeSats in 2011. It's almost 9 years. So that is the time we got interested into, CubeSat. But I realized that is the time I realized space is not a department, but rather it is a place, and you need multiple industries to work together. So that is the moment I started concentrating in electronics and communication, because that is what I was very passionate about. So slowly we formed a team and got technically. And in 2015, we launched our first balloon set. Because, launching a balloon set is not a big deal in Europe or USA. People, do it for a hobby in weekend. That is what happening here. But that was such a big deal doing here in India, because when we told that we are going to launch a high altitude balloon based, balloon set. People, the authority who have to give the permission, they are not aware that they are the one who has the power to give the permission. We have to, we need to educate them that, no, sir, you are the one having the power, you can issue. It was a long journey. And in 2016, we built SkySat. 2017 was KalamSat. And 2019, we built KalamSat V2. The technical growth has been, it has grown exponentially, I would say. The technical knowledge and everything, we have grown exponentially. And right now we are working on a few more satellite related mission and suborbital missions. And we are also working on some very interesting payloads, which can be used for, not just the educational purpose, and also for something really useful to the humanitarian stuff, something which would be useful for common people. We are working on some payloads.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, like since you started and the point you where you are right now, like even I saw one of the launches, and like I never missed the launches of ISRO. And when you were standing in the mission control at that moment, I was really I was having the feeling of that
Yeah, that is true. Like more than NASA launch, I was very happy and I was excited for the ISRO launch because of the one incident. Back in 2014, I went to Sriharikota. Usually school, it takes school people to show stuff and everything, right? So back in 2014, I went to ISRO, and in the auditorium, we were having a QA session, and people are usually asking about, what is a rocket, how a rocket works, Newton's law, all the stuff, usual school kid stuff. That moment, I raised and I asked, like, I'm building a nanosat, like CubeSat. Can you launch it? In 2014, I asked. After 5 years, 2019, it was not an easy journey because it's very hard to, like, ISRO wasn't like this before a few years. It was very close, right? In recent days only, ISRO has opened up, and we are seeing a lot of action. So to get into ISRO and convince them, to launch a satellite and getting an opportunity is a big deal. I've been to the mission control as a visitor. They didn't even allow us to, touch anything. But sitting in the same mission control to watch our own launch, it was a significant moment for me, which I can never forget.
That's great. Right now when you were sharing this, thing, I actually got goosebumps because I have been to mission control once when I was into my school time, and we went for a space camp there in Bangalore, and then we went to Bailalu and different places. So at that time we visited that, and I still remember when you step inside it, it feels like that we are at the place which is constantly making our country proud, right? So that's a very different feeling one can have. And yes, Subhash is constantly looking at the second screen. He's looking how is about how he's looking on Facebook right now, right, Subhash? Yes, Subhash.
Yeah, of course, yes. Like, I have some nervous, like whether we are live or not. Likewise.
I'm more nervous than you either. Don't worry. So yes, tell us about how and when did you find yourself?
Okay. When I was in 8th standard.
That's
when I was, I'm sorry.
Bloopers are there. Yes.
When I was in 8th standard. Actually, I'm sorry. When I was in 8th standard, I wanted to be a pilot, like everyone wanted to do. But when I came to know that I can't be a pilot because of my personal things, when everyone said that you can't be a pilot, what happened is, wait a minute.
I guess he has some issues on his side. So let's move on the other questions. Then we'll get back to Subhash. Okay. So now my next question is like, entrepreneurship and startups has been really fascinating for everyone. Like we all like,
Sorry, guys. I just got some issues.
Okay, so you can continue the answer, then I can shift to the other question. Yes, Subhash, you can continue now.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Yeah. Yeah, Subhash.
Okay. When I was in 8th standard, I wanted to be a pilot, like everyone wanted to be. So when I came to know that I can't be a pilot because of some personal issues, I wanted to be a. What I thought is I can't drive a aircraft, so that I can make the aircraft. There is no issues for that, right? So I wanted to be an aircraft engineer then, right? And at the 8th standard, what were all the marks which I got is 4 marks in mathematics, 8 marks in physics, and 12 marks in chemistry, right? So I was boarded in a school. They rejected me for matriculation. They rejected me for matriculation studies. They made me in the state board stuff. So I started to study the state board, right? The magic happened there because I was well in my native language. When I came to know that everything which I saw in the English medium, it was there in the Tamil medium books. So what happened is I rejected the English medium books. I started to study the Tamil medium books. So what I did is I know the well translation. So I just translated what are all in Tamil medium. I'll be translating it in the English medium. I'll be getting good marks. This is what happened. And I wanted to be aeronautical engineer, and I personally designed a electric vehicle with the syllabus of the 10th subject, and with more than 15 pages of writings, right? I don't know where the book is now. And eventually it was a journey. I started to study the aircraft engineering. I started to study the basic engines, 2-stroke engines, 4-stroke engines, propulsions, so and so. When I finished everything, I got a crazy about the rocket engines. Like nothing is there, nothing is moving, but it is flying. Simply, nothing is there in the engine. Only pressure, temperature will be a magic will be there, right? I love that magic. So I wanted to explore it more. I started to studying the cryogenics. I started to studying the space, the structures, everything, and it goes on. Even if you take me now, my another tab will be studying about the Blackbird.
That's correct. Like engines are really cool. Like not actual cool, okay, but the way they work, they are really cool. And if you talk about the various like the innovations which are happening in the system, the propulsion system, I guess the students who are watching this right now, you can like right now if to carry a rocket to space, it takes a lot of fuel. But if you come up with an innovation which can somehow manipulate the pressure inside the chamber, I guess you have got a very good opportunity to to contribute in this industry. So most of the companies are right now focusing on improving their propulsion system. So students, if you are interested, you can get connected to Subhash. He likes propulsion system. So everyone likes propulsion system, by the way. Okay, so now let's move on to this space.
Yep.
Startups and the entrepreneurship. This is something which I like to discuss, and me and Nitish, we have talked about this before as well. And Nitish is more into the entrepreneurship. He can understand the market. He knows about the investment and other things. So Nitish, like you have seen that now a lot of investors are interested to put their money in and even the energy in the space startups. So can you just tell us what are the opportunities for now the people who want to start, and how can they approach investors now with just an idea basis, without any prototype or without having any proof of concept, just with an idea, how can they approach investors?
I think that's another really interesting question, Sunny, if you have to ask. So, in one way, I think people really think, investors are gods, and it's really, really difficult to reach out to those people and then speak with them, and all those sorts of stereotypical thinking. That's still there. But while that's true in one way, of course, they've been named angels for one one reason, apart from the kind of investments they do, right? So, I think rule number one or lesson number one that people will have to follow is practically just cold mail. So I can basically give you an example. So there is a company called Relativity Space that's based out in the US right now. So those guys are doing it really big. So the way they started out was really interesting. They just basically cold mail their idea to Mark Cuban. I'm sure you guys must be knowing Mark Cuban from Shark Tank. He's the owner of Dallas Mavericks, and he's a really popular guy there, right? So, and they got $500,000 investment apparently without any meets, right? So, at first, so that is how it works. And from my experience, talking with CEOs and angel investors and other kinds of investors, venture capitalists who are actually into this space ecosystem, at least in India, I think one thing that I've learned really, really well is that one, it's really difficult, but that is the only approach that's there. If you are starting out as a space ecosystem, I mean, if you're starting out a venture in the space ecosystem stuff itself, right? So unless you know people who can connect you with those kind of investors or all other people, it's going to be really difficult. That's one front. But even investors, they themselves say, if you are approaching through us, even through cold mailing, 60 out of 100 times, we are not going to read the mail at all. It will either be put or forwarded to somebody who is down the food chain on the venture itself, and then they will determine whether to pass it on to the actual managing partner or not. So there is this one such problem. So you really have to focus on what kind of content you put out and how crisp and to the point you are. And one more thing that investors are really looking at right now is to sort of like have this amazing outlook towards startups who have or who are trying to build their own IP, as opposed to just overtaking manufacturing process in the space sector itself, or outsourcing a few other things. I mean, that is not interesting from their perspective, because as far as scalability goes, there is always a market cap in terms of how much you can produce and manufacture, because you're not going to have, say, a huge demand like any other products here. But when you try to build your own IP, then the chances are that you can literally go global. And now, the mindset is actually changing a little bit more, because on the positive side, because we're also drafting our national space policy that will soon come up, and we have the in-space that's being set up right now as we speak. And a lot of changes are rapidly happening. So thanks to whoever is responsible, I'm assuming it's our prime minister. But anyway, so I think this is really a gifted time for people like us, at least the student community, to really look forward to make a living out of this ecosystem itself. But I mean, entrepreneurship is something that's really beautiful and something that's really, really daunting. So if you really think that going to investors and all that is the way you start, then I think you are actually a little bit mistaken. So you do your grind, and then you figure out everything, and when exactly the time comes, you will know when to approach people, right? So that's one thing. So I think as far as the investor mentality and all that grows, it's definitely changing. Of course, people are again looking to invest in startups and other places where there is potential of developing people's own IP and then making. So and there is one more saying, right? So in space, you have to spend $1 billion to make $1 million company. This is a saying that goes around the ecosystem really, really well, right? So of course the investors know that too. That is why I think the conversion rates with respect to this sector is really, really low. So I met people who have had to pitch, people around 400, 500 investors just to get 3 investments from people, right? So that is basically one such metric that you can probably say that, look, this is the conversion rate, this is how difficult it's going to be. So yeah, it's in a way a journey in itself just to get the investment part. Of course, there are a lot of intangibles right there as well. You have the seed round, you have pre-series, you have A, B, C, and then it keeps going. So I recently met Srinath from Agnikul Cosmos. I had a chat with him, and how he basically went to investors and then sort of like met them, and I think I learned this from him. He basically said that it was a journey in itself to basically get the pre-series funding. I think Special Invest did that. They invested in Agnikul for about 24 crores or so, and now those guys are really making it big. They are almost listed in ESA's, the services provider list, if I'm not wrong. And then they're also exploring a lot of other options, and of course we are expecting their reveal of Agniban really, really soon. And those guys also presented in the recent webinar by ISRO. So I mean, yeah, it is definitely there, right? And when I spoke with him, he basically told me that I had to contact people and then reach out to them in the range of upper three digits in order to get basically 3-4 investments for his own company itself. That is a company which shows huge potential, and it could make it big. For an idea like that, it is taking so much effort to sort of like match the supply to demand, basically, per se, in one sense. So yeah, that is, of course, I think that's really true for all the other domains as well, but relatively it's going to be a little bit difficult on this end. So I think, yeah, on a positive note, because of the in-space formation and everything, now people are having a really positive outlook towards investing in the space startup ecosystem, and hopefully changes. I mean, a lot of changes will come in as we progress, and yes, so I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
correct. And finally, yes, sir.
points actually. Yeah, whatever Nitish said is very correct. Like the $1 billion investment for $1 million, that is a. I think I'm going to put Nitish's picture and write it as a quote and very
No, I think,
words.
Actually, it is true.
I was
yeah,
about to say
definitely.
that. I got the tweet for today.
One more thing is
If
like
I'm not wrong, I think even SpaceX has not broken even yet from
yeah,
where they've started.
that doing startup in India is hard. Doing space-based startup in India is harder because let's like it's not space. Let's take SpaceX, Blue Origin, all those companies. They are not just surviving by the investment from the investors, but they are also like government funds are playing a huge role. Recently, National Reconnaissance Office has with Pentagon awarded $360 million investment to SpaceX, most probably to build a vertical integration launch facility. I don't think that kind of investment from government is going to happen anytime soon in India because we already have a good performing PSLV and GSLV. Even GSLV Mark III is yet to be matured because Chandrayaan was the first operational launch of GSLV. So I don't think any major investment coming from either ISRO or DoD to the private sector. So just think like whoever the young students who are thinking about doing a space startup, just think whether it is practically feasible to sell your product. Whenever we are seeing from our perspective, every idea sounds good, but the truth has to be spoken because the space sector right now is very, very small. The demand is very less because many companies are concentrating on building rockets, but only few companies are into building satellites. I'm not able to see SSL or Maxar like companies, like those kind of startups happening here in India. So there is a like gap between the demand and supply. We have to really think like because already we have like 4 to 5 rocket manufacturers, startups here in India, but I don't think the market is that big enough to play. And ISRO itself is like sometimes a competition because they are coming up with their own SSLV. I'm very sure ISRO would be the first one to achieve it because they are the kings in this industry.
I
What would
think
be the
to,
best? Yeah,
yeah, please go ahead,
because
please go ahead.
developing any major rockets. NASA is not developing any major rockets. Even SLS is, awarded to the private contractors. So to create a feasible ecosystem for the space, most of the development work should be shifted from ISRO and DRDO to private companies, and grants from the government agencies should serve, because that is the moment even investors will also feel that they will be able to get their money back. Because I have spoke to few investors, and investors are very smart. They are understanding what is space sector, and they are understanding it's very hard to do the business. The best example right now, one of the good company which is following the correct way, I would say Bellatrix. They have temporarily halted the development of Chetak rocket, and they are concentrating fully on the ion propulsion for the satellites. And due to their correct strategy, they got they are working in collaboration with ISRO. to develop ion propulsion engines for for geostationary satellites. So I think maybe in next 2 years they will be testing that. And they got like, I think, ISRO is providing some kind of fund or some kind of mentorship, but they are closely working with them. So it's not just the rockets or just the satellites. A huge gap is in the ground equipment sector. So students can concentrate in those sectors also, because at the end of the day, when it is becoming business and when it is becoming a startup, passion, everything is second. The first one is the money. You have to make money, otherwise the startup is not going to be viable. So when you are planning to make it as a startup, just think about the reality and practicality. It is like then only, it is not like you started up and finished it. Your startup should be there for a long time.
That's true. And
I think to Irfan's point, if I can quickly add on. So there is one other quote I think which I can basically say. So there is a saying which goes like, "Dreams are free, but the hustle is sold separately." So that is basically, I think, where he's getting at in terms of quoting that passion and everything is there, and you can get as many ideas as you can that could potentially revolutionize the entire space industry throughout the world. But you have to realize at a point that ideas mean nothing if you can't execute them. And one more thing is that space has to be global. You have to be globally competitive in everything that you do. You are building a thruster, make sure that it's on global standards. You can't build something that's, you really think of.
Patriotism plays a very important role in space sector. That is the reason why neither SpaceX nor the Blue Origin is coming out of the US market. If SpaceX wants, they can easily start a company in India and get a lot of the talents from here. They can make Falcon 9, like 5 times cheaper. But the patriotism plays an important role, because most of the money being spent in space is taxpayers' money. When a company like SpaceX or Blue Origin come to India, the taxpayers will feel betrayed. So, but it's not like the case of Uber or like other companies where they can, go global. They can start company in Singapore, they can start company in India, they can capture the market. But if you are a space company, you are well within bounded inside your country, because most of the funding will be from taxpayers' money, and you cannot expand out of your country that easily. So that is also one of the reason we should, one of the important thing we need to take care of.
that's correct. Nitish, you can check your LinkedIn if possible right now. Okay. I've updated your quote now on LinkedIn. And Rifat, one more thing if you can add. In India, a lot of people believe that if you want to start a space company, if you want to be a space pioneer, you need to be from aerospace. We have discussed this a lot of time now, but every time I'll talk on this. So can you tell our audience that you don't need aerospace for this?
Yeah, first of all, the students, I've been in this lockdown. I'm very happy that Star, I think Brahmastra, everybody is actively working with students. I think in this lockdown, the outreach has really increased. But one thing is, I also started receiving a lot of messages. Many people are thinking, I'm very interested in space. I want to work in ISRO. Out of 100% of the queries, 90% will be like, I want to work in ISRO. I'll give one simple reply: write ICRB. That's all. Because people have to understand that working in ISRO is different. Getting into space sector and working really hard to achieve your dream is different. Working in ISRO, if you are able to clear the ICRB exam, you can get into it. But to start a company and work on an idea, it's totally different. Aerospace engineering, okay, it is. It has the name space in the course itself, but a lot of universities are misinterpreting it as a gateway to get into the space segment. Because even after building the Kalam set, many universities were calling and asking like what I'm going to join. And when I say I'm going to do BSc Physics, they were like, why are you going and doing aerospace engineering? I was telling, okay, even if it is not physics, I'll do electronics and communication. But they were like, you should do aerospace engineering. That is a totally wrong approach. Before getting into space, you should understand what are the segments inside. If you want to like build rockets, engines, and all those stuff, aerospace is a good choice. But still, a mechanical engineering in UG and aerospace engineering PG would be a better option than doing UG aerospace. You can do, electronics and communication is a crucial part of the space engineering, whether it is rocket or ground support equipment or the satellite. PC is very important. So is a computer science and electrical. So I want to repeat that aerospace engineering is not a gateway to the aerospace segment just because it is having the name space into it. Okay. I think
No, I
Sunny is also,
no, Sunny, you can dab all you want, but I think I have a slight difference of opinion. You can't exactly say that it is not the gateway, but it is not the only way to get
Only
into
gateway.
the
Yes.
the space sector. I think I have an example to quote here. So if you look at another startup, I think Bangalore-based startup called Pixel Space. So
yeah.
those guys are from Bits Pilani, and I think he's a civil engineer, if I'm not wrong. He studied civil engineering there, and now he's into geospatial imaging and then microsatellites and all that. And those guys are really rocking it. So I think they're one of the few startups who have, I think, secured launch for 2021 sometime, right? So they are almost on prime time right now, and I think they've been listed in the ET's list for most innovative startups, along with Bellatrix and Agnicol, if I'm not wrong. So I'm not exactly sure. But if you look at that, he's a civil engineer, and out of nowhere, he's building, a brilliant company that has secure launch and is going into space. So it is probably the most diverse sector in the entire planet, in one way. So
Communications, we all know it is one of the most matured satellite company in the world. Who created 67, 8 satellites back in 1990s. And the guy, the CEO who thought of reviving the Iridium because it was about to bankrupt, he was actually playing golf. He was retired person, and he was not at all from the aerospace industry. At the end of the day, aerospace is more, it is a business at the end of the day. If you are going to do it as a business, the business skills and things that matters more than because you can hire a technical person, but to do the business, you have to have that business skill. That is the reason, civil engineering, it is not just, starting the company. Even if you want to do a job, for example, even if you want to do a job, it doesn't mean, only aerospace engineers can get into ISRO. ISRO is hiring physics graduates, and in the propellant sections, we have chemistry people and biologists are, like one of the high time demand. We are living in the, demand for biotechnology people, because we are planning to colonize moon, colonize Mars, and living in space. So for that thing, I would say if you're a biotech student, I think you have a very good future in the space sector.
Do we have a space for meme artists in this industry?
Yeah, PR, the SpaceX, they literally become, very famous, and they are the first, SpaceX has a fan following, like how we have fans for CSK, RCB, Mumbai Indians, all those stuff. SpaceX is, I guess, one of the first companies to have a fan base. That is because of the ability to do PR. So I think, meme makers may have a good future working in some space
I think Musk himself is a great example on that front. So sometimes his tweets are just basically bonkers. Of course, there is also the popularity aspect and all that front that just comes out. But communications is such an important role, especially in a space company, that NASA has a dedicated communications director on their front. Every word matters. Everything that you put out matters, because you're going to get scrutinized at the end of the day for every sentence that you say.
Yeah.
Like Rifat pointed out, basically, it's all the
Actually, it
taxpayers'
happened
money
for
that you're.
SpaceX.
All right. So I
Likewise, you
think
said it happened for SpaceX 3 months back, I think so.
What happened actually?
all right.
What happened?
He has made a tweet that Tesla's share is going skyrocketed, and within 24 hours, every share has gone down.
Yes.
I would say I think Elon Musk is one of the very few people who can control his share market value from his
Tweet. Yes. He and Kapil Sharma both. Yeah. So
With his tweets.
yes. Now let's go to Subhash. Subhash, you have been doing a very good work throughout the pandemic. So I would like to know that the challenges that you faced during the throughout your journey of this entrepreneurship. What are the key challenges you face and how you overcame them?
Okay, whether the question is for me,
Yes, Subhash, for you.
could I get that? Because I think I have some internet issues here. Could I get the question again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I asked that you have operated very well throughout the pandemic, right? And being a startup, it's very difficult to go through such situations which are not under control, and how you dealt with that, uncertainty, and what were the key challenges you faced throughout your entrepreneurial journey?
Like in the past 5 months, what happens is it is actually, as you said, it is uncertain thing. I started this. It's for just I just wanted to teach the people what I know, right? And I just started it to make it for free at initial. And when I came to know that how we are going to make a business model, likewise, I just wanted to the problems which I faced before is the people has to, like, you should not pay the people as, like, the people, those who are coming to you are not the richest persons, and they need much knowledge within the money. So I just cut it down every cost, and it made the change over there. And as of now, like Nitish and Rifat said, I was wondering that these are the problems which I'm going to face in the future. Like I'm not into the space manufacturing as of now. Like I just wanted to initiate it. Like I was wondering that these are all the problems I'm going to face in the future, because I just started during this pandemic, right? So I was simply wondering, and the key challenges which I faced are you have to give it to everyone. We have to reach for everyone. Like dream is free. Like likewise, the people are expecting it for free. But you know something, learning all those things for the space is much costlier. Like if you go out for a book, it costs more than 7,000 rupees. Like I wanted to make it for a very costless, like a base amount.
Okay.
That's what I
Cool.
did. And
So,
mm,
yeah. Please continue. Yes, Subhash, you can continue as you are saying something.
yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
cool. So,
yeah,
next
I just
question is
finished
like,
it.
okay, no worries. So my next question is like, like science is already there, right? But it's all about how you communicate science to students, right? Like a lot of people, they create an image that things are really very difficult. But when we teach, like it's upon us, like the way we teach to students, right? And the way we understand things. So Nitish, can you just throw some light on space education, how important space education is, and how can how important it is to have a science community of a science communicators in any particular nation.
All right, Sunny. So I think now if we look at the global trend, and if all of us keep following hashtags and all that throughout social media, there is the word STEM and there is the word STEAM and all that just pops out really often now, right? I did not know what that was. I mean, why? What is STEM and what is STEAM now? And then I realized it's science and all that, technology, engineering, right, management, all that. And then that is when I realized, oh my God, the particular niche focus on such kind of educative content is what is in a way impacting so many lives right now, right? So I think in one sense, uh, of course that is really really important if we look at it, but especially when it comes to space education, and why is it important for a country like India? People have this perspective like, we are still a developing country, and why do we have to invest in space when there are so many other issues that we could focus on, and all that. That is a question that comes up really really often. But we have to realize that in a way it is also affecting our entire economic ecosystem itself, whatever activities that we do in space, either directly or indirectly, right? So it is helping so many people in so many ways, so many businesses to develop in the country, and that is not something that's explicitly out there. Somebody has to educate people on this front. Look, you don't know what you don't know, and you know what you exactly know. That's all. but then you cannot take a stance on a public front and basically claim what you know is exactly this, and this is what the ultimate reality or the truth itself is, right? I think I can give you a small example on this front. So there is a company called Kava Space. I think almost all of us will probably know it. Kava Space is based out of Mumbai, and those guys basically have developed this concept called space intelligence. So big data analytics through space for whatever problem statement you might have that could help governments. Governments could contract them, and then they could help do that. Of course, not governments wherein there are major space players who can do that by themselves, but outsourcing the data and outsourcing the results itself, be it in terms of flood, natural disasters, weather prediction, and all that. That is one thing. Be it in terms of, there is such agriculture, agro-tech, farming. How do we develop that? Where can we plant seeds? Where is the groundwater table? There is remote sensing that's helping, on all those fronts. And, if you look at it, everything is rooted in space in one way, but people don't see that because it's not explicitly out there. So of course the importance of space education is becoming a rudimentary requirement right now, especially when there is a developing country looking to progress its entire economy itself. In one way right now, I think I can say that space is now seen as a major front wherein countries can show their entire power on all fronts, basically. So the power of a country space agency is in a way now painting a picture on how much capable a country is in terms of its technology and everything. I mean, that is how the entire space age started off with USSR and USA. That's a really interesting story. So, we have roots far back, and the importance has been evident from that point itself, right? And it has unimaginably contributed in so many ways. So, in a way, every country would want its economy to be stable, its GDP to keep raising, and all that. And there is a very, very, very inexplicit, or perhaps should I say, implicit sense of space education that's just reliant, at least on the very, very root level. So that's really important. And anybody, basically, I mean, it's not rocket science, as the proverbial goes. When people immediately say space education, anybody who wants to basically say, this is Pluto. It's a dwarf planet now. It's been kicked out of our solar system. To a small, child, that is also space education in one sense. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be anything in order to teach people about space and then tell them about the opportunities that are available, right? So space is something that's really, really pure, and it has a certain level of existential quality to it. So we have to, there is another saying: to know your future, explore the past. So now the saying will be like, to know your future, explore space. So I think in one way we can put that, and it again all accounts to the space education front, and how many times that we do. I think with respect to SEDS, we've been pushing that front as much as we can. We have annual conferences being conducted, and we have a special event called the Antariksh that happens every year in Vellore and VIT. So that's like a 3 to 4 day camp that we host, where thousands of students come in, and then they take part in lots of activities and then know what's happening and all that. On an engineering college level front, we have Astra annual hackathons that we host and national conferences that we also conduct. And we're also tying up, our own chapters on an international level. If somebody wants to speak to somebody in an observatory in Chile, we do that, right? So I think that's the power of networking in one sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also space education. It is not necessarily teaching people who don't know about space itself, but it is also, sharing whatever you know passionately. That's basically it. So on SEDS front, we've been pushing that front, and on the space education, we have something called as the One Space program. That's purely aimed at outreach for underprivileged children, and we are now completely building an online platform for local school children and everything to just basically access all that content right from home. And then we are developing content as well, our own content to be put up, and then people can basically log in and then have interesting lectures or webinars or quizzes and all that scheduled right away for free completely. So that is, the entire spirit of space entrepreneurship that I see personally. And then we as SEDS would like to really, really put forward that, that goal of what we are literally trying to achieve. So, of course, there is definitely the answer that space education is one of the most important things that has to be done. But we also have to be aware of how important it is. It's not just, importance is one thing, but you have to talk scale. especially when you're talking about something that's really, really huge, right? So if you put on a scale that's directly comparing the space ecosystem, space education's importance and all that with all the other industries, all the social issues that we have, then obviously it may not seem like it is ranking as much important as the other prospects. But we do
Yeah.
have to realize that when you break everything down and quantify it to root levels, there are so many ways wherein space and space education and space activities itself has influenced the lives of even very, very poor people who cannot afford, the space education right now. In every possible way, people are getting, their lives better. So I think that would be my stand on this.
Okay, amazing, amazing. You know what? Whenever we see science communicators in our country, we feel proud because most of the times during any astronomical events, our media invites astrologers and not astronomers. Okay, so that is something we need to change. We need to have the community of science, like science
So,
communicators and the space educators
so
now.
many,
So
so many quotes on this webinar, man. Really
yes,
interesting
yes.
one.
We can put the highlights on the YouTube now. We can put these highlights on the YouTube now. Yes. Now
Yeah.
let's go to Subhash. Subhash, your thoughts on this space education.
Okay. So we are at the initial stage of the space education in India. Like we have to initiate because in the future, if you need more scientists, you have to teach more students today, right? I see this in this perspective. Like if you need more scientists in the future, you need more science educators and space educators today. That is my stand, and as of now, according to my perspective, more than 4 to 5 people are there doing wonderful things. Like let's take Star, a startup from Bangalore, and Brahmastra. Like a new persons are coming from, like a person from Delhi, a person from Lucknow. So many persons are coming, and I need we need it to reach more people, like underprivileged people. My thought process is, okay, we are in the city, we can access it. Like what a person from Assam, what a person from Mizoram, they can't access it. I want those people to access it. I want the Jammu Kashmir people to access it. I want a person who has a dream from Bihar village, he has to be accessing it. These are all my vision to make space education better. Like if you take a scale, uh, we have very less scientists in terms of northeastern states, and from Jammu, I think so. Like I want much people to be contributing from the northeast and the Jammu, because we are Indians, right?
Okay. Cool, cool. So for Rifat, I have changed the question now. Uh, like this is going to challenge the confidentiality, but still we want to know like if you can share some information about Vikram Set and when can we see it in space?
Yeah, that is a cool question. I also want to let you know that there is a slight schedule change after the the poster we made, but we are hoping the Vikram Sat to lift off any time in the end of Q1 or in the mid Q2. Vikram Sat, many things are, still we are keeping it confidential because, we have to go through a lot of regulations, and we have to, there are certain payloads which we are like, we are waiting for to get the, approved. So even we are not sure that, we may need to remove a couple of payloads. But Vikram said, I think it will be lifting off before the mid 2021. It will be carrying the names of the students across the country, and we are like doing transponder. We are testing a transponder which we can hopefully use in the future communication for not just the educational purpose but also for like commercial purposes. We are testing it, and interesting stuff about the Vikram Sat and also few other missions manifested for 2021. These satellites are almost 90%, and all the systems are fabricated here in India itself. Systems in the sense, I'm not talking about the raw materials, but for example, if we take satellites, nano satellites built in India, uh, the modules, the entire solar panel module, entire onboard computer system, entire communication system, these things can be brought from USA, Europe, from different places. Most of the educational missions, you can go and browse the images of all the Indian satellites, and you can even find sometimes the brand name on the board. Yeah, it's not a mistake. Even in some of our satellites, we have used commercial components in the past because there is no other way. It is very hard to, building the system is very easy, but testing it, and undergoing all the regulation and making it space qualified is a big headache. Sometimes the cost of the test is around, like, 100, how to say, not 100% or 200% higher than the actual hardware itself. But the thing is, like, this time we are planning, almost even the solar panel also. Here itself in India itself, we are manufacturing not the solar cell because there is no solar cell factory here in India, but the solar panels we are manufacturing here in India itself. So we will be testing that. The power system, onboard computer, and communication systems are entirely built here in India itself, except the microchips, which we don't have any, like most of the players are not here in India. And one more, another cool stuff we are doing is the structure. Because the last satellite Kalamsat 2 we built was, attached to the PS4 of PSLV. But this time the Vikramsat will be mostly, a standard CubeSat, maybe 3U, adhering to all the CubeSat standards. So we are taking all the standards and international regulations seriously and making it compatible with ODA regulations, orbital debris assessment reports. So we are making it an internationally compatible bus. So once we are able to demonstrate it, we will be able to, it's not just the US or Europe will be in the market. So we will be also able to sell the systems for the research people. So it can act as a platform, because payload is, for example, if you want to do some biological research or some kind of cool research, you can take these parts and put your payload and launch it. It will reduce all the, like, hazards. But we are very sure we will be able to at least reduce the price by, maybe 150 to 200%. It may sound like, exaggerated, but the actual thing is, most of the CubeSats are overpowered. For example, you just want to send, like, you just want some simple breakfast, like a sandwich or something. But all the only option available in the market is an exotic burger built by Gordon Ramsay. That is the situation right now here in in the CubeSat market. But in the past, many satellites has proven it is wrong. For example, there is a satellite called even Exceed Space launched one satellite in in the past, PSLV C45, and that was completely mostly built in India. And before that, yeah, there is a satellite called Eagle. These are a very low cost satellite. We are following the tradition, those tradition, like from the Eagle Sat, like from, there is one more satellite called I forgot the name actually, but it is a very low cost satellite. We are working on it. So this Vikramsat is going to be a very exciting mission for us, and it is also a very big risk we are taking, because all these things are cool, building here in India, indigenous and everything. But when you are following this kind of strategy, the risk of failure is very high, because this will be the first time flight for most of the components. So it's really stressful. We are doing multiple tests, but only problem here is, for example, EMI, there is a electromagnetic interference and electromagnetic compatibility test. I was getting quote from some companies for getting the test done. The quote is actually 400% higher than the cost of the transmitter itself. For example, if you need to do 2 or 3 iteration of the test, it will be very hard for us. But we are figuring out a way to do all those things by the computer simulation itself. And very happy that companies like SpaceX, Rocket Lab are now requiring just the simulation itself. Many tests you can do in the simulation and submit. You don't need to do the actual testing itself for some very costly testing. New kind of things are happening. It's a very complicated mission for us, and it's a very risky thing for us. But it is like if we don't do it, and then we won't be able to do it ever. Like we will just be in the comfort zone of buying the components and putting it and flying it. So we are taking some risk. But if it happens, it will be very cool. It's not just the for example, students from Brahmastra Aerospace or students from SETS, they can collaborate with us to actually launch the satellite itself. So we are looking for the, as a SKI, our educational point of view is because since we are into these kind of things, it's a bit hard for us to spend time and reach out to the schools and colleges. We always felt that little bit hard. But what we feel is when we are able to build these kind of platforms, we can work with amazing, peoples like Nitish or Brahmastra, where we can work together to make space accessible. So that is what. So we are into the research. Lockdown has given us a lot of time to do a lot of research. And now we are in the testing phase. Everything is I want to say one thing that actual launch is it's just 10 minutes. After that, the responsibility of launch company is over. They will be happy. But after the ejection, you will spend like next 2 or 3 days with the heavy tension. You don't know where the satellite is. You have to track it, make sure all the systems are working. I think till March 1st or March end, I'll be always living with some kind of tension in my head. Till the satellite goes and sends the first signal, it is going to be very hectic for me and my team.
Yeah, so for the satellite teams, it's a very crucial time, since the satellite gets deployed and till it sends the first signal. And for the rocket teams, the 10 seconds of the countdown are really crucial. They are like 10 hours for the rocket teams.
And rocket failures are spectacular, at least. There will be some action.
Yes, you can see.
We launch satellites. We ourselves don't know whether the mission is success or failure for at least first 1 week. It's really putting a needle in space and searching for it. CubeSats are like
that. Correct. Amazing. So now we are, about to end the session, and last question to all of you is a quick, advice for all the students who are watching us live. So let's start from Nitish. A very quick, guidance or suggestions for students.
All right, sure. So if you are looking to get into the space industry or probably get a job or make a living out of this itself, try to get your hands dirty as soon as possible. That's the only possible way that you learn. You can't be a perfectionist. You can't be somebody who who has to have all the boxes checked and then probably enter into the domain. You can't be like that. You have to figure out things on the go, and that is the only way it works. Especially when it comes to the space sector. So grab as many opportunities as you can, be it in terms of internships or projects that you could get. Of course, that is what people would look for. But I would say, don't just have one domain that interests you, be it just propulsion or be it just aerodynamics. Try a lot of different things and then find your niche then. So just because aerodynamics interested you in the first time or propulsion interested you while you tried out for the first time itself, it doesn't mean that you have to make a career in propulsion alone. Maybe there is something else that you have to figure out that would probably interest you lots more. So try to hit so many different targets and then focus your niche and then build something. So there is huge prospects on everything that's going to go. It is actually a myth when people say it is difficult to get a job in the space sector. And then there are not so many opportunities. Of course, then in relative terms, that could be a thing. But if you know the right people, if you know whom to approach, if you can try hard, then it's actually really, really easy on one front, right? So get your hands dirty as soon as possible with any project that you can get, be it in terms of educating someone and developing a curriculum. That way you could make a career out of space policy. Who knows? We are developing that also right now, right? So it's not just rocket science, it's not just propulsion, it's not just structures and all that. There are so many fronts to space that you can potentially explore and then probably make a living out of. And then network as much as you can, because that's the only thing that's going to save you at the end of the day. I'm sure all of us here on the panel would attest to that, because especially when there is a domain that's so niche focused in a country like ours, you have to know people in order to make it big. at least after a certain point in time. So you can connect with me, you can connect with Rifat, you can connect with Subhash or Sunny for that matter. We're all here to help you out. So network as much as you can, reach out to people, even with the dumbest of the questions, and make sure that you take a big leap of faith and take a chance, because this is the time that we have to take a risk. So if not now, when?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
rightly said. Right? The way he said that, by just getting fascinated of, about rockets and satellites, you cannot think of directly getting building a career into this. It's like not all crushes can become your wives, right? You have to understand things first. You have to, see that whether you can live with that particular thing happily or not. So, very rightly said. And guys, if you have any startup idea or if you have any idea about the innovation in space domain or any domain, you can get connected to Nitish because he is into startups and entrepreneurship, and he has got a very good network. So, get connected to him. Now, let's go to Subhash. Subhash, any advice for the students?
actually, like you said, I want to say, like, get ready for hardship. Get ready for hardship because without hardship, you can't be in a space. And likewise, Nitish said, you should be having a great connectivity with the people because, likewise, in India, in terms of space, very less number of people over there. Like when compared to the automotive field, when compared to the IT field, very less number of people over there, and every people there are golden people. I could say everyone will are ready to help you, and only thing you have to do is you have to reach them. If you need, you have to reach there.
And keep
As soon as
patient.
you cannot be there.
After reaching conclusions, right? That's also important. Sometimes people expect that they want to reply in just 5 minutes. It's difficult for everyone to reply in 5 minutes. Patience is a key when you're, reaching
I
out to
think
someone.
that's where I would like to add one more point to Subhash here as well. I mean, the power of simply knowing somebody on a personal level, be it in terms of any field, you never know what kind of opportunities and avenues will open up. And that is the biggest asset you can have as a potential employee, as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, and everything, right? So that will help you go a long, long way in the long run in your entire career. That will propel you basically in one sense.
Correct, correct. So hardship and rocket ship both are required to go to space. Correct. Okay, and now last but not the least, Rifat.
Yeah, the first thing is like you should have patience and a lot of perseverance. It will take a lot of time for us. It took 7 years to reach the space, to reach the orbit. First 3 years will be very difficult. You'll be feeling like quitting a lot of times. That is why I'll be saying, unless and until you have the first mission up and running, don't make it like a startup or an organization. Make it like a team and keep things simple. Don't concentrate about commercials very much initially. It is more about proving the do simple things. Don't overcomplicate the stuff. For example, don't feel dejected. This line I'm telling from an email of the great scientist Dr. Mayusami Annadurai sir, because when I was in 10th standard, I wrote an email to him and I made a around 150-page proposal to build and launch a CubeSat. I emailed him. I don't know. It is sometimes you have to do the cold calling, like Nitish said, because you don't know who will be replying, but you just have the guts to take the action. That have always worked for me many times. I have wrote a cold mail to Dr. Mayusami Annadurai sir, and I was very fortunate enough. He just not replied, but he invited to come and meet him. I went and I met him. He gave a very practical. It's like at that moment I felt like a slap, like like it is like very practical. This is what space. If you want to be in space, this has to be done. There is no space for fantasies in space. It is, we can say like that. But at that moment, I felt like it's very hard. I felt like I cannot do anything in it. But after 8 years, we have done a mission for with Dr. Mayusami Annadurai sir itself, and we are planning a lot of missions with him. He's guiding us, and same with ISRO. I have wrote many emails to chairman at isro.gov.in. I have never got any replies mostly, but during the Kalamsat time, we were having conversation on the email with at isro.gov.in domain. Things will turn out, but it will take a lot of time and it will take a lot of effort. You have to put your heart and soul into it. But it will not be a, if we cannot say that, you have to work on this, you have to do it heart and soul, because practically seeing, for most of the middle class family, lower and upper lower middle class families, this is not a practical way. There, we are coming from the background that parents will, want us to go to a job and do a lot of stuff. You will not be having the ecosystem to sit peacefully and do all this stuff. So we have to also be practical. For example, if you are an engineer who want to get into space but not able to, suddenly get something into it, you can find a job. You can get into IT firm and you can do it as a sidekick. And you can, whenever the things are ready, you can just transfer from one thing to another thing. So that is what I would say. Be practical, and whenever you are writing a mail, there is only one thing I want to say to all the students. Please mention who you are, what you are studying, what is the goal. I receive a lot of mails that, I want to build a satellite. That's all. That should be the subject of the mail. But
Send a YouTube link then. You should send a YouTube link.
And many people are, asking like, we want to build rockets, we want to launch satellites. And when we ask them the question, why, they weren't able to answer. So before thinking about you want to do this, also think why you want to do this. There will be always a solid reason why you want to do this and why you want to achieve it, not just space, whatever it is. Yeah. So have a correct reasoning. Space is not a quick way to get famous. Many people think like that, but we have worked our pain in the deep to reach this situation. You are just seeing from the front, but in the back it's a lot of hardships. Don't think it as a quick way to become famous or get the fame. It is not that easy. So understand the practical thing and work practically. Like Nitish said, get your hands dirty as soon as possible. Then you'll be able to definitely do great.
Oh, and one more quote that came out, if I may phrase, like Rifat said, space in itself is a fantasy, but there is no place for fantasies in space.
In space, yes. We are getting so many tweets here, so now we have got the content for the tweets. Fine, so amazing. Pardon?
Sunday today, lot of puns. Fun day.
Yeah, puns.
That's great. So it was an amazing session. Maza aa gaya kafi. It was really interesting, and personally, I got to learn so many things, and it was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much to everyone for accepting this invitation on the first call itself. And even the we got a couple of questions in the comment section as well, but they were covered in all the questions that we had.
Oh, he's lost.
His internet.
Lost his connection.
End card. Error. Unexpected error, I think. I'm taking a screenshot. Hello. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I got
no
the internet
problem.
issue. I'm really sorry. Yeah. So thank you so much for spending your time, and especially on Sunday. You can see, guys, entrepreneurs, they work on Sunday, right? And they share a lot of insights with us. So students, if you need any help in future, you can get connected to Nitish, Rifat, and Subhash, and even you can get connected to me. Fine. See you guys very soon. Thank you so much once again. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Vanakkam.